a little bit more natural, right? Um, so I don't know if that answers the wallpaper question that we've been sort of going back and forth about, but
It does, and then it
yeah,
brings up a great point when I brought this discussion to you, and I'd asked you about transverse abdominis, about our
yeah,
deep core muscles, and how you said, well, we don't really talk about them anymore in terms of engaging them, and so I wanted you to talk about that to the community of people.
yeah. TA is or transverse abdominis is one of your abdominal muscles. It's in the name, and it transverses your abdominal cavity. And it's very important for lots of different things, but it's one of many things, right? It's not I think it was looked at as sort of the lead singer of the group for a while, and that's what the focus was on, but we got to give the drummer some love, you know? It's y- you're the again, the idea that you can isolate one muscle um is just not um yeah, it's not realistic.
So, can I give? I'm going to give a little
Yeah,
context. Is that okay?
yeah, go for
So,
it.
at least when I felt like the lead singer, the TA was starting to come out, it's because the rocker, who is our rectus abdominis, your six pack muscle, I remember starting getting cues about the transverse abdominis, about trying to go deeper in because my rectus abdominis, and I felt like I was in a class, was talking about how it just naturally wants to contract. And so if we can imagine that we're softening it, we can start to get the deeper core muscles to engage so that everybody's engaged and not that rectus abdominis is going to go offline, but
Mhm.
ideally it's not going to do all the work. And so I found that revolutionary in my own practice of like kind of softening in and then like imagining that I'm hugging the whole corset
Mhm.
versus like this kind of action, like hugging
Yeah.
in and then moving like hugging everything in towards the center and then moving from that place. And I felt like the languaging around it was to imagine, yeah, your corset, to imagine your transverse abdominis like hugging in to go forward. And now it
Mhm.
seems so every time I talk to you, I love talking to you because every time I talk to you, things are evolving and changing as we are evolving and changing. And so, what would you recommend in terms of languaging? Just because a lot of people who will be watching this teach movement, in terms of trying to get our students or ourselves as practitioners to really get everybody on board. Let's get the whole
Mhm.
band. Let's get the whole band on board of our
Yeah.
abdominals.
Yeah, I think so there are a couple of things with that, and I don't think we should sort of, as they say, throw the baby away with the wallpaper, right? And I'm just gonna stick with that wallpaper
I like it. I
theme.
like it. Let's do it. Let's do
Okay.
it.
Um, okay, so let's break a couple of things down. Again, I always think there is more, the more we talk about something, the better it is. I think, top three things that you can do to just throw that away. All right. Let's get in, let's have more of an open conversation about fitness. Um, let's talk about your practice. You said that was sort of like revolutionized how you maybe what you felt and how you practiced and how you initiated movement and things like that. So I would say you experienced skill you experienced sort of um, skill acquisition within your
Mm-hmm.
practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you became more skilled at doing something. Um, and so if you took someone off the street, um, and you had them and you had them take a yoga class, right? Um, or you had them just start to do like back squats with a barbell or a deadlift or anything, right? That person would not be as skilled, right? They would again their coordination, their movement, their muscle recruitment, the timing, everything would be off, right? Completely off. Um, Through practice, sometimes our teachers will give us sort of cues, and whether that cue is ex- is completely true. So if someone cued you into engaging your transverse abdominis and the way they explained it to you, maybe their intention was to essentially bring more awareness to
Totally.
maybe the lower half of your body, maybe to your pelvis. What is your pelvis really doing? How are you feeling muscles around contract around your pelvis? Are you bracing? Is is your version of abdominal bracing, was that much more superior? Like, was that more up here rather than more of a holistic, like global thing? I don't know, maybe it was, and maybe that cue really helped you to tune into a little bit of lower part of your body. That can be very true. Now, does that mean that you engaged your TA and that's what I don't think so. I think it was just a really, really good verbal cue that someone gave you that allowed you to acquire a new skill and a coordination, in something that you've been practicing and ongoing, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think that that's, and I think that that, sorry, and I do think that that's incredibly valuable, right? Um, but again, if we go into the science of it, contracting your transverse abdominis, which was thought to be the uh, the key that unlocked lower back pain and lumbar stabilization and all these things. It's not. There is no key.
Okay,
There
I
is
was going
no
to ask you, I'm
key.
like, what's the
Yeah,
key? What's the
there is
key?
no key. There is no key